is Christine Smith Davis, and I'm going to share with you one of my favorite recipes. It's crispy Southern biscuits, and you can find the recipe in my book, Mother Dear's Cookbook. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is, this is 2.5 cups of self-rising flour. Now it's not plain, it's self-rising. So I'm going to put the self-rising flour in my dish here, 2.5 cups. And the thing about the self-rising flour is that it already has salt and baking powder in it. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add is shortening. This is about 1/2 cup of shortening that I'm going to add to the dish. So I'll just take it out here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a fork to cut the shortening into this recipe. This was a recipe that my mother taught me when I was growing up. And you know, I mentioned shortening at first. Back in the day, they used lard, L-A-R-D, that's what they use. And just to give you an idea, I'm cutting the shortening into the flour. So I'm gonna cut that up really kind of crumbly. And it's going to make a nice pan of biscuits here. So you can kind of see what I'm doing with the shortening and the flour. Now you can also use butter if you like. So this is what it looks like. Now some people use butter instead of Crisco, but it depends on you, what you would like to use. In my case, I just use shortening, okay? So I've got this all mixed up here, and you can kind of see that a little bit. Now, what I'm also going to do, I'm going to add sugar. It's going to give a little sugar flavor. So this is actually about 1/4. Now you don't have to put this much in here if you don't want to. So I'm adding that into my mixture and just stirring it around in there. Okay, so I've got my biscuits with my shortening and sugar mixed in there together. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do, now this is a buttermilk recipe that I'm using. So this is actually like 1 cup of buttermilk. Now I have also used like 2% milk. Sometimes you can do that if you like. It's up to you. But this is one of the Southern biscuit recipes. Okay, now after I get this all together, you can kind of see that, I'm going to add buttermilk and just mix it into my mixture of flour, sugar, and shortening. So I'll add a little bit more, and I'll also add just a little water. And mix that up good. And you can see the consistency, how it changes a little bit. Okay, I may add just a little more buttermilk. So it's a lot different from when we initially started this mixture. Okay, I'm gonna add a little water. Okay, and mix that up. And it's kind of stiff. we're going to get this kneaded together once I put it out on the surface here. Now, on this surface, I have wax paper, and then I've got my rolling pin. And for some reason, I misplaced my biscuit cutter, so I'm going to use this glass. But you can use a glass or a cup or whatever, you know, to kind of mix it together. Okay, so I've got this kind of mixed in. And one thing I wanted to mention to you too, I use a cast iron skillet to cook these biscuits in. My mother always used a black cast iron skillet. And I had to kind of put some shortening in the bottom of it so the biscuits will not stick. Okay, now in this little cup here, I have flour. This is just enough flour to put on the wax paper. Now move it over a little bit, and then I use this rolling pin because I need to make sure that I have flour on the rolling pin when I roll the biscuits out. So you gotta make sure you have that so they will not stick. Okay? So I've got that, and now I am going to just put my biscuits out, mixture. Well, actually, sometimes I don't put the whole thing. I put maybe a portion of it. And so I've got to keep my hands in some flour to keep it from sticking. So part of it, I'm just going to do part of this mixture to get it together. And then again, I use flour, keep my hands from sticking so much. So, you see how I'm just patting this out, and hopefully you can see this on the wax paper. And I'm patting it out a little bit. Okay. So now what I'm going to do next is take this rolling pin and just roll this out. Now you can make thin biscuits or you can make them thick. It's up to you. But I'm gonna just kind of roll them out a little bit like that. And then, okay, I've got my flour again. So with this glass, what I'm gonna do is just dip it down in here like this so I can cut these biscuits out. So here I go. There's one. Okay, and I keep going on around. Get them cut really smooth. Okay. All right, so we're just gonna start with this right now. So I just take the biscuits up like this and put them in the pan. And then I'm going to pat them down. I always try to keep my hand in flour to keep this from sticking. So here we go. And there's nothing like good old-fashioned hot biscuits. And we served our biscuits a lot of times with syrup or jelly. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put this together again. Need a little more flour here. Put it here. And then I'm going to kind of knead this together again. I'll get a little bit out of here of some of the dough so I can pull it together. So I'm going to pat it out like this, and I think I need a little more flour. Okay, so here we go. some more flour on it, and then roll these out. And it depends, like I say, how thick, you know, you want your biscuits. Some people like real thick biscuits, and some of them like the thin biscuits. So it's up to you. So you see how I'm cutting these out? Okay. So I've got these. Put them in the center of this pan. And I may be able to squeeze one more in here. So this is what it looks like. Now what I'm going to do is actually press these down with my hand. I have to pat them down like so. So this makes, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, about 10 in this particular pan. Okay, what I didn't tell you initially, we needed to preheat the oven to 400 degrees. So I'm just going to turn it on, bake, and we're going to put it on 400. Okay, that's on 400. And get a paper towel. Okay, I'm gonna put these in the oven at temperature 400. So I put them on the bottom level first, so they can brown under the bottom, and then later on I'm going to put them at the top so that they can brown. And you notice I have some butter here. After the biscuits are cooked and done, I put this in the microwave to melt it a little bit, and then towards the end of the baking, I will just put a little butter on top, put them back in the oven, and let them finish. Okay, so that's that part. I'm gonna come back with you in a few minutes after the biscuits are done so that you can take a look and see the final product of the Southern Biscuits, okay?
This was What's Mimi Cooking?
Okay, we're back. We just finished up our Southern Crispy Biscuits, and as you can see, this little small pan is for my grandson, and then this pan is for the rest of the family. So these are the Southern Crispy Biscuits found in Mother Dear's cookbook, and I'm sure you will enjoy these with some fig preserves, muscadine jelly, grape jelly, apple jelly. Enjoy. Okay, I'm out.
This was What's Mimi Cooking?